Yeah.
Well,
That's just the best.
Speaking of Titanicus and what Ben's doing right now, did any of you guys listen to Full Stride?
no, I have not gotten around to that.
It's a pretty good one. Highly recommend it if you're at all interested in Titanicus. But in the latest episode, they're talking and the guy's wife brings him some food in the middle, and he's like, "Oh," he does that thing Jake hates where he like stops and he's like, "Oh, my wife's bringing me food," or "Oh, my cat's running around," or whatever. But then he's just like straight up eating his food while talking, like, "Yeah," and so in this book,
I mean, I'm not gonna judge.
Hey man, you gotta do what you gotta do, big dog.
I just thought it was funny. It didn't like it was more subtle than what I just made it sound like. But you could I was like, wait a minute, this motherfucker's eating while he's talking.
Yeah, true. But
Skin is literally crawling.
You know what? It
damn
can't
it.
be any worse. There's a guy that I work with. He's an older dude in my office, and he does not know how to chew with his mouth closed. And he will bring like the gushiest. Everything's either the crunchiest or the juiciest of his food. So it's just the maximum amount of fucking mouth noises. I have put my hearing protection on over top of my headphones to try to block it out before.
I had a roommate in college that was a loud eater, and before we kind of figured that out, we had agreed to like myself and him and two of our other friends had agreed to like live together at one
Right.
point. Or no, we didn't. Not, but like I would complain all the time. Well, we did end up all living together at one point, but it was later on. But like I would complain about how loudly he would chew, and like nobody fucking believed me. And then like one time he came to our apartment the next year and was hanging out and like had food with him or whatever and was eating it, and my buddy Ed was like, dude, I didn't know that like you were being serious, and I am so fucking sorry. You were not exaggerating at all. Like it was to the point where it sounded like he was doing it on purpose. Like
Yeah.
like smacking his tongue against the roof of his mouth as he was chewing. Like I swear to God, the motherfucker was doing it on purpose.
This
And, like,
motherfucker not only does that, right?
And like
This dude,
people would say something about it, and he would like not understand what they were talking about. Like he didn't. Well, at least that was the act, was that he did not realize he was doing it.
oh, he fucking knows.
Doing what?
No,
What are you talking about?
This cat I'm talking about, like, legitimately will suck his fingers in between the bites of food. Like, loud finger licking good. And you can, like, get a little pop action on that suck, too.
like will suck on his fingers and like play with the palm of his hand, because they're balls.
Making eye contact the entire time. And welcome back to another episode of the Argel Talk Podcast.
Jesus Christ.
So, myth of the week, eating loudly.
Oh my god, fucking mouth noises galore, and here I am over here like intentionally trying to reduce the amount of mouth noise that I make, and then that's how we're gonna fucking lead into this shit. Alright, well...
Yep.
Myth
I
of
mean,
the week, mouth
For a good
noises.
cause.
fucking good of places I need to start, I fucking guess.
Yes.
But yeah, how you guys been?
Oh, just glorious.
You know, living the dream. Got my
Not
computer
necessarily
working.
my own.
Doing a nice combination of trucking and fucking.
Always
That's right.
Eastbound and down. Loaded
Life.
up and fucking.
Southbound and down, as it were.
Oh ho!
Hey,
Dig it.
right.
life
I've
lived
spent
in
all weekend playing
equilibrium.
Diablo.
Spent a week playing Diablo, you said.
Although that's been my weekend. It's just playing Diablo.
Yeah.
It's my childhood reborn.
I've been talking to Eric about this, but I've been playing that new Metroid Dread game. It's pretty lit. It is a spiritual and chronological successor to Fusion, which is like one of my all-time favorite games from childhood. So it's been pretty sweet.
I got.
That's on Switch, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I say that like there's another fucking Nintendo system that it could be on.
I mean,
I don't know. Are they still putting things on 3DS?
No, they've
think
stopped
so.
support for that.
which is sad times, but you know, what are you gonna do? Evolve or die.
There's no more actual portable consoles now. I can't fit a Switch in my pocket.
Well, I got the Switch Lite, and it's
Switch
pretty
Lite,
fucking.
yeah, you totally can.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking portable, honestly.
Sounds to me like you need to get some cargo jorts. Then you can fit it in your pocket. You're good to go.
Cargo shorts.
I should
Cargo
have
jorts.
put it in the pocket of my carpenter's jeans.
That's right. Come on, we've spent enough time in the local gaming shop to, cargo shorts are the, go-to pant.
Cargo shorts or a fanny pack.
You can do both.
Porque
Yes,
no
both.
los
It says you
dos,
can't
dude.
wear both.
In fact, I think the next Resident Evil game, that should be how you expand your inventory. For the attaché case expansion, just just more pockets on your cargo shorts.
Jesus.
Leon Kennedy just does not give a fuck anymore.
Like,
If I'm gonna have to kill zombies, I'm gonna at least be comfortable doing it.
They're fucking zip-offs, too.
I mean, let's be honest, we all just threw the bottoms away. Like, we unzipped the bottoms to make shorts out of them, and then just threw the... Like, I just found, like, a random pant leg at one point cleaning out my closet. I'm like, man, how did both of these not make it into the garbage?
I did not throw mine away. I only had a couple pairs, and I kept them together so that people could see how cool I was by unzipping them in front of other people, and that did not work at
That's
all.
how you get all the ladies, man.
Not exactly the literal panty dropper you thought they were.
You know what's funny about that is I've got a story, but not one that I'm willing to have recorded.
If you subscribe to our Patreon, that doesn't exist yet, you can have X-rated story time with Ben.
That's right.
Which
Only some of it is real life fan fiction.
Which is also partially him reading collected works of what's his fucking face? Yeah, there you go, Chuck Tingle. Fucking fuck the dinosaur that's fucking my own ass or whatever the fuck. Honestly, it doesn't sound far off from a Chuck Tingle title.
It's not. It's pretty close.
God. But anyway, anybody done anything like hobby related, not just hobby adjacent?
Yeah, so I've finished work on my Dreadclaw the other day. Looks pretty good now that it's all painted up. Can't even really tell that it's 3D printed. I mean, you can tell it looks different from the normal Dreadclaw, but it doesn't look like weird or nothing.
I like the picture that you showed us. That's going to look really good when on the tabletop. I actually tried to I was looking up on Forge World and seeing if you could still get them. I think the other day they were back in stock.
Oh, are they now? Because that's where I looked at, and it's like, well, it's like I want to buy a Dreadclaw. Oh, Forge World won't let me have a Dreadclaw.
Yeah, I don't know. I looked kind of just passing by because I was just looking at the prices of a couple of different things, but I want to say that it was back in stock for once.
Yeah, that's their first mistake is you're looking at what the prices
They
are.
were in stock. It was also the Fire Raptor I was looking. I was like, oh, I want a Fire. Forge World won't let me have a Fire Raptor.
Forge World says no. We have Fire Raptors at home.
Fire Raptor at home is just a fucking Argus on fire.
Well, apparently,
Turned off in the backyard and tossed on the grill.
apparently,
it's just another Primaris tank. That's all you can buy. Like, I want a Fire Raptor. Primaris tank?
I'm sorry, did you say Atreus? Astreus, I'm sorry?
Did I hear you say
Primaris
repulsor?
lieutenant?
Repulsor. I heard you say repulsor.
I heard Primaris Lieutenant.
Codex Primaris Lieutenants.
Swear to God, like you go on Forge Roll, it's just the Astraeus tank with a red helmet on it. Like, God damn it, another Primaris Lieutenant. Fuck.
This one could be your super heavy selection for your army.
You look up
Lord of
Fire
Warslaughter.
Raptor and there's Lieutenant Fire Raptor. That's his name.
Lieutenant Fire Raptor.
Just get fucking lieutenants. Well, let's get some Eldar. Lieutenant Eldar. Damn it!
God damn it.
Yeah, new aspect warriors, the Fire Raptors.
Oh my
Anyway,
god.
yeah, so I finished up the Dreadclaw, and now I'm working on the first batch of the Hussars for my Night Lords, and I got 5 of them that are base coded, and I'm working on the metallics now.
Nice.
I'm looking forward to seeing those.
Lit.
Litty titty.
Yeah, because I know I did share that one Swift Blade army from my one like Facebook group I'm in. That had
Yeah,
like,
that was pretty cool. I liked how those looked.
yeah, like used like different like arrangements of different arrangements of skulls on the bikes to like delineate.
Yeah, like a
the...
squad markings.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
I don't think I saw that. I'm gonna have to look back and
Yeah.
see that. That looks neat. Or that sounds neat.
Neato. Super fucking neato.
But how about you, Gray? What did you get up to?
Hobby wise, still working Urk commissions for Age of Sigmar.
Ooh, Orooks.
Yeah, man. I gotta say, it's really jarring how different the Cruel Boys are from the rest of the Orcs. Like, they're a different, like, proportions body-wise, and it doesn't make sense.
I thought you were
Well,
gonna say a different breed.
They're a different breed. They are a different breed.
Built different.
They're built different to the point where it looks like I have 2 different games next to each other on the table trying to paint regular Orcs and Cruel Boys. Cruel Boys are very lanky, and they're very much almost like Lord of the Rings Orcs, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they are
proportion.
the proper scale. Like
They're the
you look at
same
them next to the
size,
Lord of the Rings
sure.
orcs, but they yeah.
but their proportions are like, they look like men, humans, not in orc costumes. They don't look like big, big heads, sloping hunchbacks, the whole orc thing,
Twerking
enormous
ass.
big fucking hands, big old fucking hands, big old domestic violence hands. They don't have any of that.
Well, they don't have domestic violence hands. I don't know if I want to play with them.
I've never heard that used to describe them before.
That particular turn of phrase, but there we go. Here we are.
It fits, doesn't it?
It sure does.
Look at the big old
God.
slappers on the end of their arms, The Cruel Boys do not have that.
Yeah, because whenever I look at a model, I'm like, does that model look like it has hands that it could beat its wife with?
I mean, maybe orcs. Maybe if they like put Hulk hands on and then like.
Yeah, so I'll play my orcs against Gray's militia.
God damn it!
Okay.
Domestic violence tournament. I'm here for it. It's great.
How about you, Ben?
How about you?
I beat you to it. Ah!
Fuck. Not much. I've been doing like I said earlier, I've been playing a bunch of Diablo because it's my favorite game. I've been doing some commission work. Been doing a bunch of Ultramarines, and so I got did some vehicles. Working on painting those up. Well, not painting them up, but I'm base coating them for the guy because he just can't be bothered. So
We've all been there.
Oh yeah, definitely. But that's about it. Just my normal 3D print commissions. Haven't really done much of anything for myself. That's probably going to be the case for a while.
It's fair. I mean, yeah, I've been a busy bee this week. I've finished that booby goblin bust and got her submitted for the competition that I was talking about before. So that'll be exciting. See how it goes. I'm not expecting anything, but we'll see what happens.
You might want to work on phrasing about submitting booby goblins.
I mean, I don't know. I felt like it was a logical extension from domestic violence hands, but
I was gonna say,
I mean,
Domestic violence hands.
so I really like how she turned out. She looks pretty cool. I'm happy with it. I also did a bunch of priming and base coating with my airbrush on the last few Luna Wolves that I need for that Remembrancers Retreat doubles event coming up the beginning of November. So got the base like lilac type color on the Recon Marines, the last couple Plasma guys, Malagurst, Termite, and a Rhino. And
nice.
I'll be working on those. And last but not least, I also got some primer on the that 3D print Land Raider. It looks pretty sweet. I'm into it.
The Proteus.
Yeah. So that'll get added in there at some point. And then last but not least, I have been working on building a couple more Bad Ab Lamenter boys for the next phase of the Resurrection project. So we'll see how that gets on. I don't know that I'm going to be able to finish painting them this month, though, because I have made other painting commitments that require my attention, such as 2 Secret Santa projects that I've also been working on, not in any substantial capacity yet, because I'm still waiting for some bits to show up in the mail, namely some more Tortuga Bay true scale boys. So yeah, but certainly busy, and then somehow I still found time to play Metroid anyway, so it is what it is.
Sounds like you're living the dream.
Living something. I don't know if it's a dream, but
Real adulting.
Disregard adult, acquire airbrushing materials.
Hey. What's wrong with that?
But yeah, so I'll just roll on into pick of the week. My pick of the week is going to be Mr. Oh my God, I don't even know how to pronounce this last name. But it's Adam at Full Circle Hobby on Instagram. He's got Chaplain Amasis of the 15th Order of the Jackal. It's a chaplain conversion he did for his Thousand Sons. Adam's got like the best Thousand Sons on the internet, and I would challenge you to find ones better. He's like the perfect like metallic work with the gold, with the pale and still vibrant gold he's got on them, the candy apple red, like the weathering and the scratches and the dust on their boots and bottoms of their cloaks and stuff. It's just pure Thousand Sons perfection. So if you guys
just make out with him already.
I mean, I fucking if it meant that I could paint Thousand Sons like him, I would absolutely do it.
So
yeah,
Adam
everyone knows talent transfers by saliva.
Everybody knows that.
Just not the band saliva.
No. Not the band.
I hope you're listening, Josie Scott.
Fucking hack.
Oh boy. But yeah, so that's my pick of the week for this week is Adam's Thousand Sons, his newest model.
Yeah, I've looked at his stuff. I tried to use it, excuse me, as inspiration when I was doing mine, and then I realized that I just can't.
Mm-hmm.
I just do not have that capability. So I had to just go with something simpler.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the secret is that Tamiya clear red over the like bright metallic base coat. And then I feel like he also gloss varnishes on top of that, so they are shiny as fuck, boys.
I've been playing around with the clear red thing myself, and actually the metallic Tester's metallic red is pretty good in the same capacity because it's very translucent itself. And
I haven't used anything Testers since I was like building models like when I was in middle school.
For those of us who don't live in a city that has a hobby town in it, all you have is Michael's. Tester's metallic red is that same sort of translucent.
You're not wrong in that it probably... I mean, it is also an enamel, so it would
Yes,
probably
it's not
behave
bad.
the same way.
It behaves very much the same, and it's pretty cheap. Can I say that it's absolutely the same, and go use this instead of that? No, but it's a good alternative.
Fair enough.
Always like good alternatives, especially when they're cheaper.
Free is
Sometimes,
my favorite flavor.
I'm broke. Shut up.
sometimes cheaper and faster, you might say.
Sometimes. Yeah.
We all do like things cheap and fast.
I'm gonna bag on them as much as I can. Oh my god. Anyway, that without fucking allowing that rabbit hole to get gotten down. Who else
It
got
could have been
a
so
pick
much
of the
worse.
week?
I do
Well,
not
like,
have a pick of the week. I was shitty and didn't do my homework.
I have a
Fair.
miss of the week.
Ben just hates the whole hobby. He's never gonna have a pick of the week.
I have a miss. I'll be the
Also,
salty
well,
boy.
I think Eric might have a hit. or a
I
pick.
I have a big hit. So I'm a weirdo who's not on regular social media, so I only find things on Reddit. So I don't know if this guy's another guy who's big on the gram, and I just don't know it. But a fella going by the Reddit username of Gigawatts McFly has largely 3D printed and assembled a 30K scale Banelord Titan, and it looks fucking sweet. For those unaware, the Banelord is basically a corn-aligned corrupted warlord. It's got a sick-ass autocannon tail.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at it, and it seems like it would be right at home with the Forge World Reaver kit.
did you? Well, you say that. Did you see the size comparison of it standing next to a warlord?
I have not. He didn't put any more pictures besides
Oh yeah, he
the
did.
Titan itself.
It's on Facebook, and
Again,
it's
see, I don't know any of that.
the warlord stands about mid chest to this thing.
Well,
So no, Jake, it does not fit right in with the Reaver.
like the no kidding Forge World warlord.
Yeah, the
stands
no
to-
kidding.
Holy shit!
Yeah, no, it's massive.
It
Also,
doesn't
fun
look that
fact.
big in this pictures.
Here, you know what? Let me see if I
I
can
mean,
find
they're
it.
the ones that I'm looking at.
Well, I just meant like as far as like the kind of aesthetic and look and like feel that he's gotten on it with like the
Oh,
like
with the Chaos Reaver kit, yeah, it does.
yeah, that's what I
It
meant. I
looks
don't
legit.
like got all the like my favorite part on this that I'm seeing is right above the toes on his camera left like shin. He's just got like a little mouth coming out of the armor.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's almost like a little alien mouth just kind of like popping out of there.
Well, that's kind of legit. Yeah, I see that. It's cool. It's neat.
But yeah,
Real fucking.
I mean, I can talk about some other picks of the week because I always have more. Let's see if I can find it in some kind of. Well, I mean, a runner-up pick of the week for me would definitely be a couple weeks back. I'd picked that Sigismund conversion by Amphiaris. And it has since gone to its owner over at Metters Miniatures, who has proceeded to paint it up, and it looks fucking sick. Let me link it here for you guys so you can see what I'm talking about. But it's got a really rich, vibrant yellow going on, and I'm definitely a fan of this paint job. I love the like blue, green, black he has going on his Imperial fists, or if they're not his, they're for somebody else's. But yeah, he's John Metters is a consummate hobbyist, and I love everything that he puts up. He always gets a nice, bright, vibrant look on pretty much anything. But yeah, let's see, and then
Yeah.
I guess because Gray, did you have one? Did you have a pick of the week?
I had more of a miss than a pick.
Okay, so I'll supply one last pick then. Let's see if I can remember the channel name, but one of our buddies up in Pennsylvania has dipped his hand into trying to make some painting tutorials. This is Amniotically Tanked on YouTube. This is Phil up in the Pennsylvania Heresy group. He made a tutorial about how to paint Imperial Fist armor, which is pretty cool, and I love seeing new people trying stuff out and making new content for everybody to enjoy. I do think that the video quality on it is somewhat rudimentary, but as a podcast that has rudimentary sound quality, it's not really a particular house of glass I'm willing to throw a stone in. But I mean, you know, it's definitely something that, you know, you got to keep in mind that, you know, if you're trying something new out, you should try it out and see if you like it before you put money into, you know, buying nice equipment. So certainly the information in it is good. So I'd recommend a quick check it out. It's an 8-minute video that's got a beginning to end Imperial Fist paint job. So if you're looking to figure out how to paint some nice vibrant yellow, go check it out.
Yeah, that sounds neat. Yeah, man, that what you posted is a War Master, not a Bane Lord.
My mistake.
I mean, it's still sick as fuck. Someone made a 30K scale War Master Titan.
Yeah, that when you were talking about it, I was like, oh, it must be the same one that I've been seeing pop up. But I'm wrong.
I like the Bacardi bottle in the background. It's a nice touch.
Yeah, for scale.
Yeah.
Of course. Jesus. All right. Well, Gray, if you want to go ahead and roll into what is your miss of the week that you had?
My miss is the bottle design for washes across all companies.
Okay.
Putting them on blast.
I'm gonna. So it doesn't matter what company you go to, whether it's a streaking grime, whether it's a wash, a shade, whatever. There's no reason why they can't make the bottom of the bottle a little bit weighted. I
see where this is going.
Yeah, rip my bottle of Agrex that did a header for no reason other than, you know.
You know, I think if all companies just made butt plug style pots where they were flared at the base, that would be much simpler.
Yeah, like
yeah, but then I've got to have someone next to my painting table with the damn butt plug wash, like firmly set in them. Like you've got to have two people. No, it's just too much effort.
Or, you know, just weight the bottom of the bottle a little bit, like put a little more plastic material on the bottom of the bottle so the center of gravity is lower or something.
But then that costs more money, Gray.
Oh, I mean, just take it out of my Warhammer Plus account.
I mean,
yeah,
you could also
to have enough weight for that to be true. Yeah, it's a lot of weight.
Just put it behind a paywall, man.
Just drop a couple of ball bearings in there.
Or repot them into droppers like I did.
Oh, so good.
I wouldn't want to do that for streaking grime, though.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know there's also, you know, a cornucopia of 3D printed things that they make now that are drop fucking pot anti-tippy devices. That is their official
they're
scientific
called cup holders.
Cup holders.
Or, you know, I'll give you. You know what? Actually, on the tail end of that there's my hit of the week. Speaking of bottle design, is the testers' bottles. They're glass, and they absolutely have more glass on the bottom than they do up the sides. Like done, handled. Like this thing does not want to tip.
Well, I think Gray's just hitting his testers Stan episode. So.
You know, and I haven't touched testers since I was like 16, and I'm like, well, why the hell haven't I messed with this? Because it's definitely pretty good.
Because you were young and foolish back then.
I do
appreciate having them. Since I was failing chemistry and really needed a pass.
That was my entire undergraduate shit. I have a degree in chemistry. I was just failing the whole time and somehow pulled out a degree at the end.
Well, there you go.
Your pullout game's been notoriously bad these last few years.
Yeah, 2 kids
God.
later, shit.
Fucking
But, no.
rip.
All our listeners at home, I do love my children. It's all a joke.
Uh-huh.
If CPS happens to be listening to this episode.
If my wife ever tunes in, I love my children.
Noted.
Yeah, but from previous episodes, it's clear that you love one way more than the other. And if you're interested in learning which one he loves more, go back and listen to our previous episodes of the Argel Talk podcast.
Let the record reflect. Well, are we ready to move on to this week's topic?
I think that we should move on to this week's topic.
Well, let
What is
Eric
this
take
week's
lead on
topic?
this one.
Because I genuinely don't know.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking this week about something that I know I have needed a lot of work looking at, and something I've never really used before, and that's buildings and fortifications. And why are we doing that this week? That'll become clear soon enough. So
Stay tuned.
yeah, stay tuned.
Next
So
time on
what
Dragon Ball.
are buildings, right? So buildings, I mean, if you thought vehicle rules were complicated, strap the fuck in, because it's going to get wild up in here.
Buy a hat and get ready to hold the fuck onto it.
Yeah. So buildings they basically are vehicles to a degree, except they can't move. They can actually be controlled by either side. So unlike you can either deploy buildings as part of your army, usually in a fortification detachment. The exception to that is if it's 500 points or more, then or if it has a strength D weapon emplacement, it becomes a Lord of War. And there's 2 of those specifically that we'll talk about from the Legiones Astartes list. But you can either bring them as part of your army in a fortification detachment or a fortification slot, or you can deploy them just as empty buildings in the middle of the battlefield. You can actually take the fortifications if you play your cards right. So they use the concept of claiming a building, which anything that you buy as part of your army starts claimed by you, whether or not you have a unit embarked upon it or not. However, anything that starts kind of in the middle of the battlefield, as a neutral ground, starts off unclaimed. And you claim a building by moving on either onto the battlements of an unoccupied or unclaimed building that claims immediately, or if you either can't get onto battlements or it doesn't have battlements, just embarking upon it automatically claims it for your side. So the benefits to claiming a building, even if you don't go into it, is that any claimed building will have the Sentry Defense system special rule, which basically lets it use automated fire, which we'll get into a little later, even if it doesn't have anyone inside it. The other thing about unclaimed buildings that start, just as terrain pieces, they'll typically start as dilapidated buildings, which means that they have 2 fewer points of armor on their each facing. And unless you agree with your opponent, which honestly, why wouldn't you? Dilapidated buildings can't fire emplaced weapons, but I mean, emplaced weapons are part of the fun of having buildings at all. So you'll probably want to agree that you can shoot those once you've claimed it.
I think that's more of a mechanic for, like we were talking about before, about kind of having, your whole battlefield of terrain count as occupiable buildings, but then obviously, people's ruins collections might be larger than their collections of complete buildings. So that's a way of representing that, probably.
Yeah, and then, maybe you can, if you have, like, regular ruins, you can claim that as a building, but, since half the thing is gone, you're not really going to be shooting any, Icarus quad las cannons out of it. But buildings do have armor values and hull points, just like vehicles, but there is a size chart with 3 different sizes that determines their transport capacity and the number of hull points. It goes up by 10 models for each size, and it goes up by 1 hull point as well. Starting at small with a 10 model capacity and 3 hull points, up to medium, and then a large with 30 capacity and 5 hull points. You get into a building just like you get out of a building, but jump of note, jump and jetpack infantry can embark inside of buildings.
Sweet.
They can or cannot?
They can.
Cool.
The normal rules for bulky or very bulky still apply.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that's good for me to know for having Blood Angels in a fortification.
So, I mean, for the events that we've run, and honestly, most of the games that we've played locally, well, shoot, I won't even say local. The games that I've played in 30K, even at conventions and stuff, a lot of times the fortification and building rules are really just not used very often. The fortifications that you can pay to bring in your army are they're usually a little expensive. Usually the only ones that I see with any sort of regularity are Aegis defense lines, and they are admittedly very, very useful, but all the other ones just cause issues, because especially if you're going to an event, oftentimes the tables are already preset with terrain, and then here you come rocking up with these bunkers or a fucking fortress.
Here's my Castellan stronghold.
Well, the stronghold and the Aquila Strongpoint are not as big as the Fortress of Redemption. It just like takes this massive chunk of space. So
the Primus Redoubt is probably the king of taking up too much space.
Well, that too, yeah, but it's
just
square. You don't get as much out of it for a lot of. It's just not worth the points for a lot of armies. So we just kind of ignore them for the most part. In fact, I don't remember the last time I shot to destroy a building or had to roll on the building damage chart, and like that. I mean, there are legions that have rules that kind of specify that they get bonuses to destroying buildings.
Yeah, don't like Imperial Fists have Wrecker really easy to come by?
It's either them or the Iron Hands. Or not Iron Hands, but Iron Warriors.
Iron Warriors.
Well, and the Leviathan Siege Drill also has Wrecker,
Yep,
I'm pretty sure.
Does, yeah.
Which is a super common one that you see just because it has Armor Bane. I don't know that people.
It's a big fucking drill.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it totally makes sense. But I would like. I think after the discussion today, I'd like to kind of use them more often, like not necessarily like bringing fortifications as part of my army, but setting up tables where we have some of these neutral buildings in effect that can add some flair and some just something a little bit more dynamic to the game. So
right. So like rather than just fighting over objectives, you can also be fighting over these buildings that like it's a different strategic choice for you to make of, okay, well, I'm going to take this building and be able to fire out of it and have my guys relatively safe. Certainly safer than being out in the open.
So
where's my played a game like that last year? Or the year before last. Not this Escalation League, but the last Escalation League. I feel like we played a game that had something like that.
Maybe.
I'm sure. I mean, I don't remember.
And to your earlier point,
we had a building with an automated gun on it, and if you controlled the building or you had the controlling unit in the building.
Oh yeah. That was Ben just happened to show up to our game and just had the I think it was a Contemptor Mortis that I was selling him. And, and it probably did not go the way that Ben intended it to.
It did not. It royally fucked over one of you.
Yeah.
Pretty sure they royally fucked Gray, which was unfortunate because he did not need the fucking to occur to him.
Yeah,
With
playing
my 10 militiamen.
militia.
So
combat
Ben, you
militia.
mentioned how
Militiamen.
a lot of the buildings and whatnot are just too damn big to be taken with you at events that already have terrain. So Jake, why don't you tell us about massive fortifications?
Yeah. To go from Ben's earlier point, I think the last time I saw a building in use was a mega battle that the Remembrancers Retreat guys had at Battlegrounds, and I think it was Jared brought his Castellan stronghold that like was like the centerpiece of the fight, and I believe it also has the massive fortification rules, but
It does.
I think it's massive fortifications. I think are listed on their data sheets, but it has the Mighty Bulwark special rule, which is a -1 to building damage table rolls. It can also have an armor value of up to 15, which is pretty cool. Certainly, armor value 15 is nothing to sneeze at. So there's also fortification networks. So rather than having one big motherfucker, you can have lots of little motherfuckers that you kind of string together. I think it's just kind of a build a bitch type fortification where you just kind of Lego piece them together end to end and connect them together. I think our units inside of them can just kind of move between them freely.
Well, there's a few different upgrades that you can also fall into this category, which I'll go into here in just a little bit.
Sure. Garrisonable buildings. Anything. Let's see. All buildings, including those that are fortifications, have the repel the enemy special rule, which is models that leave a building or disembark from a building can charge the turn that they disembark from the building, which is pretty sweet. So, like, if you don't have to sit there and just weather the charge that you know is going to come. If somebody's lining up a charge on a building, you can pop out of there and surprise motherfucker. Get them. Notably, escape hatch is not usable for this rule, and escape hatch is another upgrade that we'll talk about here in a little bit. And lastly, we've got firing from buildings. Fire points are listed, I think, in the building's data sheets. And unlike fire points in vehicles, 2 models each can fire out of each fire point in a building. So you can have, a fortification or a building with, lots of fire points and can effectively fire your whole unit out of them. And I think some of them might have like facings and things like that. But yeah, so that's pretty cool. So I've definitely seen that used before, where an Iron Warriors or Imperial Fist player will put their tank hunting or like wrecker fucking las cannon squad in a building and essentially be able to fire the whole thing out of it anyway. So that can definitely be an effective use of buildings.
Definitely have used it as cover for rad missile launcher Forge Lord squads, like the Forge Lord with the rad missile servitors.
Nice.
Stick him in a building and watch the hilarity as you punish Custodes players for bringing Custodes models.
Punish their folly.
Punish them for existing.
Their hubris.
Exactly.
And I think it's really neat how each building they're basically all assault vehicles by default.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
So
I dig it.
There are the God bless it, my mouth is just not working today. Aside from just the what we normally think of as like the fortifications, the big bunkers and the actual buildings, there's also a category of the terrain called just battlefield debris, and that kind of stands. You can take them like separately from some of the bigger units, and these are oftentimes in the games that I've run them in. Excuse me. It's just neutral things to throw on the battlefield that like adds some flavor, but not something that makes it like ridiculously one-sided. And they're small enough that you can just kind of throw them around. But like they all across the board, they're called battlefield debris. I think we've used them a couple times in the escalation last year. But they all come standard with you get a 5-up cover save by being around them, and they're all difficult terrain. But depending on which ones you take, they usually add a small, extra rule that you can benefit from. I'll quickly go down the list. But you've got an ammunition dump, where any model within 2 inches of the debris can re-roll to hit rolls of 1 in the shooting phase. Pretty nice, but not like crazy. It basically gives them preferred enemy. Barricades and walls. You see this a lot with the Aegis defense line, but anyone who's behind it gets a 4-up cover save, and then if they're within contact or within 2 inches of someone else as being in base contact, they can charge out of it. And if they are then charged, then the charging unit can also fight models that are behind a barricade. Comms relays are this is usually an upgrade you see with the Aegis, but anyone if you claim a comms relay, you can re-roll reserve rolls. Craters, like we see these in basically every table that we've ever made, but like there are actual rules for it. I don't think that people remember it half the time. But if you're in a crater, you get a 6-up cover, whether you're 25% obscured or not. So that could be good for some vehicles. And if a unit goes to ground, then they gain 2 to their cover save rather than 1. Defense lines are a lot like the barricades and walls, basically the exact same, except that they gain if you go to ground behind it, you gain 2 to the cover instead of 1. But basically everything else is the same. Gun emplacements. There are a couple of different gun emplacements. The most ubiquitous being the quad cannon and the Icarus las cannon, but they have the same stat line where they're a toughness 7, 2 wound, 3-up save emplacement, and you can have just the emplacements, not with a defense line. And if you're behind the gun emplacement, you still get a 5-up cover. The imposing statuary, like you've seen those big models, or like the Honored Imperium, where you've got the big Space Marine hero or whatever. They gave that guy rules, but you can just arbitrarily choose terrain to count as imposing statuary, where this and you can designate them as either being loyalist or traitor statues. And if you were the same allegiance to the terrain piece and you're within 2 inches, you gain fearless. And if and any model, regardless of allegiance, can gain a 3-up cover save behind the statue. I've never seen anyone use that, but it's like one of the easiest ones to like throw on the table.
For sure, and it looks really good too.
Oh yeah, and even though that is the model, is that Space Marine hero, like you can very easily just choose anything.
Shit, half the Age of Sigmar statues would work just as well.
Oh yeah, they definitely would. Rubble and Wreckage is another like really common one that like it's on basically every table. But they're difficult terrain and they gain 4-up cover, regardless to whether or not you're 25% obscured or not.
Nice.
Tangle wire is dangerous terrain. That's an important distinction there. And a model in cover behind it only has a 6-up cover save. But that's a pretty good defensive tool there. Make people really question whether or not they want to take their 20-man squad past a unit of tangle wire.
Oh yeah, I know all too well the dangers of making a lot of dangerous terrain tests.
Yes, you do. And then lastly, tank traps. They're impassable terrain to non-skimmer vehicles, and they're dangerous to bikes, but open ground to all other units. So, like, the Dragon's Teeth sort of terrain that you see a lot of people make. If you're behind it, you get a 4-up cover save, but that's a pretty big deal, especially if you're going up against someone that has assault vehicles, like Spartans and assault or raiders. Like, okay, well, your dudes can't just, you can't just drive past this. So there's a modicum of defense that you can play there. I've never seen anyone actually use them though, at least not for that.
Yeah.
But
Pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the battlefield debris really lends a level of advancement to the terrain rules, just in general. Because normally, you see someone's like, oh, area terrain gives you 5-up, ruins give you a 4-up, and that kind of is about where it ends for a lot of the games that I've played.
yeah,
But these can give you something a little more like, oh yeah, get some imposing statuary and have a 3+, or get always remember your craters, give you that cover no matter what.
Or having a comms relay somewhere on the table for y'all to fight over, especially if you've got 2 reserve-heavy armies. It could come in real handy.
Oh, for sure.
I think
having any of this stuff, like, ammo dumps or comms relays or anything that's just kind of in that neutral area, able for anyone to just kind of come get and make use of, and add that to your strategic plan for the game.
And honestly, it actually contributes to your pre-game decisions also, because I'll be honest, 99 out of 100 times when I come to a game and I win the roll-off, I just pick the side of the table that I'm already standing at because I don't want to be bothered to move my stuff around. But well, if this side's got a comms relay and the other side's got an ammunition dump, and I know I'm taking the first turn, maybe I change the side of the table I'm on so I can claim that ammunition dump for the first turn or two.
Or maybe you just deny the enemy the comms relay.
Yeah, that too.
If they're playing, a heavy reserve army where that would be really useful, then yeah, totally makes sense. But I think to your point, Eric, I think that most people simplify the rules that they use for this sort of stuff just for you're already having to remember a shitload of data and trying to remember, all right, well, I can't remember exactly what an ammo dump does versus what does the comms relay actually give me. Oh wait, is that a 4-up or a 5-up cover save when I'm standing behind this thing? Like I get it. There's already a lot that you have to kind of commit to memory with this game, and you don't want to have to constantly be going back and forth. But sometimes, especially if you're playing just the same core rules or core missions out of the book over and over again, it can get a little bit bland. So being able to throw in, some very cheap and easy, extra rules to help pad how a game may go is pretty useful. And all of the battlefield debris that I just talked about, a lot of those can also be taken as upgrades to some of the other terrain pieces, like the actual fortifications that you can buy. So you can actually kind of pimp out your fortifications, as part of your army and add some of those special rules to your side already.
Yeah, one of the reasons that I had looked at those before was buying an Aegis defense line for my Vostroyans, or looking at the sacrificial offering rite of war requires the taking of a fortification of some kind. So again, taking an Aegis defense line with the comms relay upgrade, because the sacrificial offering is you have an allied detachment of militia that starts on the table. All of your Astartes start off the table and come in with outflank. So having the ability to reroll your reserve rolls for those outflanking Astartes is definitely kind of a game changer for that list in particular.
Yeah. So I think at this point it would be good for us to kind of go over the standard fortification lists and show what exactly can you take And then we can go into kind of maybe breaking them down a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that.
An interesting thing I was just thinking about because we're talking about Aegis defense lines. I want to say, Solar Aux has their las rifle tercios can just take one per tercio.
Yep.
I could be wrong. They just get
I
them. They're like, here you go.
I don't remember the exact rule, but yes, they can take Aegis defense lines as part of their troops' choices, not just as part of their fortifications. Because normally you're limited in how many fortifications you can take.
Yes. So that's
But
like a big thing if you're going to play humans is and not transhuman warriors is oh, here's your free not free, but here's your outside of the regular force or fortifications.
I mean, here's your
Load up.
4-up go to ground cover save. Like, yes, please, I will absolutely take that.
Exactly. Plus a heavy weapon buried in the squad of strength 3 guns. Be kind of nice.
if you take the
You put up
then you
Aegis
start
and then
talking
put them
about
down.
then you start talking about some real points investments. But
Yeah.
well, since you were talking about the Aegis defense line, I'll do a quick once over of the data sheet. So an Aegis defense line is 50 points base, and it counts as defense line battlefield debris. And it comes with up to 4 long and 4 short Aegis defense line sections. And each section must be placed in contact with at least one other section. So one of the things that you're going to notice when we kind of go through these is that a lot of them are based on the kits that GW and Forge World made, but there are tons and tons and tons of other options than not just the standard ones. But like for this one specifically, like the amount of walls, the length of walls is predetermined. So if you are using something that's kind of second or third party, a lot of them have already developed them in line with the established Aegis defense line, which is really cool. But 4 long and 4 short sections actually covers a whole lot more linear space than people think sometimes. Like you can fit a ton of models behind an Aegis defense line for 50 points, and then you get a 4-up cover save just for 50 points across a very long line in your deployment zone, and you can even wrap it around so that if something did deep strike or outflank behind you, you could still have some defense, which is pretty fucking sweet.
Do you happen to know off the top of your head about how long those long and short sections are?
The short sections, I believe, are 2 inches. The long sections, I believe, are
It'd be like 4 to 5, I think.
4 or 5, yeah.
Yeah.
So you can get about close to 20 linear inches of defense line for 50 points.
You could easily enclose if you had a backfield objective, just enclose it and stick a squad in there.
Yeah, you really can.
Which is pretty sweet.
And that's only 50 points. Now, but then you have options. So you may take items from the obstacles and battlements and battlefield lists. So you can you can actually take a whole bunch of you can take an ammunition dump or comms relay in your Aegis defense line. They're 20-point upgrades each. Actually, no, I'm sorry. Each fortification can purchase a single upgrade. So you could turn your Aegis defense line into an ammo dump. So for your militia las rifle tertio, you turn them into for 70 points now, you have a squad of 20 dudes chilling in 4-up cover, re-rolling 1s to wound at, I believe, 24 inches, which is not a bad backfield defense against infantry.
Not at all.
No, and the comms relay, that lets you re-roll reserves. The Icarus las cannon is a 35-point upgrade. And the quad gun is 50-point upgrade, and those are both those are anti-air emplacements. The Icarus las cannon has a 96-inch range, strength 9, AP2, interceptor, and skyfire. So if you've got a unit sitting back there on the las cannon and your opponent brings in, a fire raptor, the turn that comes in, you can intercept with it. And
Lieutenant Fire Raptor.
Lieutenant Fire Raptor of the Eldar Aspect Warriors. Yes.
Yeah.
Same with the quad gun, though only it has a 48-inch range, and neither of them are very good against ground-based targets, but it's a relatively cheap and easy way to get some anti-air in your army for not a lot of points.
Can't fit a Deradeo or a Mortis? Just take an Aegis defense line with some quad autocannons.
So another... You can also take obstacles in those... with the Aegis, so you can take tangle wire or barricades or tank traps with the Aegis. So, like I was saying earlier, I've not seen many people actually take tank traps, but like you have an Aegis defense line, and you can put tank traps, 6 inches away from the edge of it. So you're forcing them to stop at a certain point. Like tanks cannot get past that point anymore, which could give you some interesting defensive options.
Right. So like you've got your Aegis defense line set up with your tank trap 6 inches away. You've got a Spartan full of some kind of nasty Terminators coming at you. Well, they've got to get out 6 inches away, and unless they've purchased that grenade harness, they're now charging you. Got a minimum 8-inch charge across a barricade, and they don't get their charge bonus now.
So another fun thing to note is that when you take obstacles, you can take up to 6 sections of obstacles per fortification. So if you can somehow fit those 6 sections of tank traps far enough away, or spread them out around your line, you can really make that thing hard to crack.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, the tripwire would be kind of nice too for you guys sitting back in there.
You can do both.
Yeah, you can do both.
So what I'm thinking is you have your Aegis set up, in front of your objective that you're trying to defend, and then 3 inches in front of that you have tangle wire, and then 3 inches in front of that you have tank traps. So the tank has to stop there. Now the tank traps count as open terrain to anything that's not a vehicle. So you could have the Spartan go straight up, but then because it's dangerous terrain, anything that pops out of that thing has to roll to see how far out into that 6 inches gap it can actually deploy into. Of course, and then
they're also having to take dangerous terrain checks.
Dangerous terrain, yeah. So if you want to come at me, you will have to take some dangerous terrain. And like dangerous terrain in the grand scheme of things is not that dangerous.
Until it is.
Until very suddenly it is. And like I've 9 times out of 10, I don't lose a single body to dangerous terrain. And then there's been times where I've lost 5 dudes.
Every game, without fail, I lose at least 2 jump packs or 2 bikes to dangerous terrain every time. And that's mostly because I'm super ballsy about jumping in and out of it, but still.
You are. So yeah, that's just with the Aegis defense line, which is like the cheapest thing that you can take. So we'll jump to the next piece, which is the Bastion, which the Bastion is like the stereotypical like Imperial bunker. It's about a 6 by 6 inch footprint, and it's about 8 inches tall, I think. If I'm just kind of guessing
something like that. I mean, there's even a picture of it in the main rulebook on page 106. It is like the like typical GW building.
Yep. And it's
you've probably seen one of those on the table and just not realized it before. I know I have.
Oh yeah.
It's the good old every friendly Game Shop has one. Paint it, they spray paint it green and then have a couple bolters sticking out of the middle of it.
Oh yeah, I mean everyone.
It's everywhere.
It's like Marine armies. Like if you play this game long enough, you will have an official bastion at some point. You will just have one. You won't know where you got it, but it will just be in your closet, and you're like, oh, I didn't know I had this terrain, but you do. And it's actually a really good deal as a fortification. It comes bog standard at 75 points, so it's only a little bit more expensive than the Aegis defense line, but it comes with some nifty, extra rules. So it counts as a medium building with armor value of 14 with battlements. So it is, unlike the Aegis, this thing is subject to the building damage rules, which we will get into here in a little bit. The access points and fire points are as per model. Since it's a medium building, it can hold up to 20 dudes, and it comes stock with 4 heavy bolter emplacements.
So I think now's a good time to mention, because we didn't mention it before, when you own a building, you can either have your guys firing that weapons, or you can use what's called automated fire.
Yep.
So if you leave that building, it can still shoot the guns, and it basically just treats it as having BS2 and automatically fires at the nearest enemy unit within range and line of sight, and everything happens at the end of the shooting phase. So you can still have 4 heavy bolters that, are unrestricted by, whatever else your units are doing.
Yep, but they on this particular model, they are pointed in 4 different directions. It's not like in 9th ed 40K where they can fire a full 360. You do have your normal 45-degree arcs. But still, at 75 points, you get a very defensible building with a reasonable footprint. You can fit a bunch of dudes in there. I know I've taken them before, and I've just put a heavy weapon squad on top to give them that, that juicy 4-up cover save, and I can have another unit, firing the heavy bolters if I wanted to. For me personally, the heavy bolters are not that as important, but they're still pretty good. But just like the Aegis, you can still take stuff from the obstacles and battlements and the buildings list, which includes more heavy bolters. You can still add the comms relay or the Icarus las cannon. You can add other things like which we have not gone over in the actual building upgrades. So building upgrades, if you're a small building, you can have a single upgrade. Medium buildings can have 2. Large buildings can have up to 3. And then a single building can only have 1 of each upgrade. So you can't have like multiple ammo stores or multiple escape hatches. And I'll quickly go through those. But an ammo store is 15 points. A unit occupying the building re-rolls to hit rolls of 1 when firing out of the building's fire points. Note specifically that it does not apply to a model manually firing an emplaced weapon, which I think is an interesting extra rule there. Booby traps. Now this one's really interesting. You can actually set fortifications up as traps. The first unit to occupy the building, friend or foe, immediately suffers 2d6 strength 4 AP5 hits with ignores cover. So if you wanted to, if you just wanted to buy a cheap bastion, set it out there, be like, hey, come on, come and
fucking
get it.
Bait bastion, like, hey guys, we left the keys open, like we left the doors open, keys are in the lock.
Yeah,
I think that'd be a real neat one to just have, as neutral ground.
Yeah,
it
for
would.
sure.
Like, is it worth the potential, armor saves to take that thing over?
Yeah, and give it like a gun emplacement with a quad gun or something, and some booby traps, and whoever wants it.
You see, yeah, in like really, I struggle to think of a time where I would ever buy booby traps for my fortifications. So for my own, I would definitely use it as part of a mission. or if I was going to like set up a table for someone else, like just like you said, like here's a nice juicy defensible emplacement here in the middle, maybe that's got a objective marker on it, but if you want to take it, it's going to blow you up.
Or like at Nova when they do the doubles event, you roll randomly for each piece of terrain to see what it does. So you could very well have like set it up to have booby traps, but then have some kind of automated system like that where well, it could be an ammo dump, but it could also be a booby trap. Like you don't know. You won't know until you get over there.
So then you have the escape hatch, which is 25 points, which this one is actually pretty nifty. I having used it before, but basically you place a marker anywhere within 12 inches of the building that's not on impassable terrain or within another building, and the escape hatch is an additional access point for the building. And like Eric said earlier, models can't use the repel the enemy special rule from it, so you can't like put it out in the middle of nowhere and then like unbeknownst to the enemy you pop out and charge them from 18 inches away. That would be really dick.
Yeah,
super awesome and Viet Cong as fuck, but too bad we can't do it.
So quick funny story, the last time I took an escape hatch was back in like 6th ed 40k, and I actually took it with my Fortress of Redemption because we were just being ridiculous with our armies. And in the fortress, I was playing my friend Joe, and he was playing with his Iandan Eldar. So I've got my Fortress of Redemption. Of course, it's just like this massive fire base full of just long range firepower, and he's playing Eldar, so he's super fast, and he's got a couple of big heavy hitter units, and he pulls up his oh gosh, what was the Wraith Knight, the big one? When that was like close to when it first came out, so he was super excited to use this thing. So he starts pumping it up the battlefield. Well, I guess he forgot what the hatch meant, because the rules are basically the exact same between them and the current iteration and the Age of Darkness. And I disembark from the other side of my Fortress of Redemption 3 oh gosh, what do they call it? Centurions with grav cannons. So now my grav cannons are like within 7 inches of his Wraith Knight, Wraith Knight, and just gun him down in place with grav weapons, because they were super busted at the time, but I still did it, and made him hate the game. And luckily you can't do anything quite like that with these or with this escape hatch, but there are definitely some ways that you could I could definitely see some ways that you could use that offensively.
As any Eldar player deserves to be put in their place.
Know your place, trash.
Well, see, like one thing I think, because I don't believe that the hatch itself is not a targetable item, or
right.
So assuming that they don't destroy your fortification, I'm thinking have a squad of meltivets or plasma vets in there and just wait for the enemy to start getting close, and like it's almost like a cheap man's drop pod. It's like, oh, and because it is just a marker, even if it's sitting out there with literally nothing around it, people will still not think about what it means to get close to that thing. And so here they pull up with their transport, and all of a sudden there's 5 meltivets like right next to it, pumping shots into its butt.
Yeah, or even you wait till they pass it, and then you shoot it in the rear armor.
Exactly. Yeah, there. Like I can see some ways where you can be pretty, tricksy with it. And for let's see, what was that 15-point upgrade? So that's a 25-point upgrade. So it's not it's not a throwaway, but there are definitely some ways that you could have that like in use. I'm also thinking like have it right next to an objective. So if something does come to start taking that objective, or threatening it from your enemy, you can just pop out right out on it and be able to defend it, relatively easily. So you can spread your threat distance out with a relatively cheap upgrade, and that's that's pretty good.
And to your point about like the vets and it being a 25-point upgrade, I mean, okay, just don't take melta-bombs on your vets, and now you've basically got a poor 25-point poor man's drop pod for your your veterans to outflank something.
Yeah, plus that brings the Bastion, if you just take that, to 100 points, which is less than a Dreadclaw.
Yeah, true, but way less usable in some situations.
Oh yeah, for sure, but that much more satisfying to pull off.
Oh yeah, it's definitely you're gonna piss someone off if you do that and do it well, and they will have no one to blame but themselves.
I mean, I'm definitely the kind of player like you could tell me that that's there, and I'm gonna forget about it.
I mean, I think most players are like that, but because it's not something that you see with often.
So what I'm thinking would be hysterical is you load that Bastion with the escape hatch up with a full unit of militia heavy flamer.
Ooh. Yeah.
Squad.
Yeah, I was thinking Tactical Support Squad, but that works too.
You roll up on it, and out the back hatch pops 10 heavy flamers.
Oh yeah.
Oh, there's my Raldoron World Burner shredding powered up heavy flamer support squad popping up out of that fucking thing.
Oh no. Even better. You take the you get the you pay the extra points on your militia commander so that you can choose your warlord trait, and then you make the heavy flamers AP3.
Yes.
And then you just pop those dudes out like, haha, AP3 heavy flamers.
20-man capacity, by the way.
Yep. Which will fit 10 heavy flamers.
Yep. Sure will. God, that would be that would be ugly, but kind of want to do it. Moving on, this was an interesting one. This one's a 30-point upgrade called the Magos Machine Spirit, where the building's automated fire is now resolved at BS3.
Yeah, that's a weird one because you look at what we just looked at, the escape hatch, and what we'll look at, soon being the Void Shield. I don't know that that's worth that number of points.
It's a 30-point upgrade for having automated 4-up hitting whatever you've left behind.
Now it's 3-up. So BS3 would mean that you're right. It's 4-up.
It's hitting on a 4 plus. It's 30k, damn it, not 40k.
No, I got my numbers mixed up. But yeah, no, for 30 points. Now, granted, you could add a couple of other guns to the. I believe you can add it. No, maybe I'm wrong.
You can add a roof emplacement.
Yeah, for 30 points, that's very high. Just to make your heavy bolters or whatever else is on there just a little bit more reliable.
Yeah,
I can see it working. Yeah, if you take like a Bastion and you give it a quad gun or a las cannon, and then just kind of leave it there to be your anti-air interceptor, and then run off to do other things.
Well, now that
makes it a little better. And yeah, I just looked up. You can use gun emplacement upgrades count as an additional emplaced weapons for the purposes of automated fire.
Thank you. I was just about to ask, and yeah, I see the little blur, but yeah, that would be maybe the way to do it. If I was gonna, but then you're investing a lot because the quad guns are twin linked, and twin linked on 5s is not great. Twin linked on 4s is pretty reliable. So I could see wanting to do that, and then the Icarus las cannon is one shot, so maximizing its potential if you're not going to have a unit firing it manually may be worthwhile. But now that the las cannon alone added to that Bastion is now going to that's 35 points plus another 30, so you're looking at another 65 points on top of the 75 points for the Bastion just to make a BS 3 las cannon.
Right, and let's be real here. If you're in the kind of army that can take a fortification, because a lot of rights of war don't allow you to, you probably have like a single, a minimum size tactical squad that isn't doing anything else that can man that gun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough sell for me. Moving on, searchlights for 5 points.
Do what searchlights do.
They do what searchlights do.
Which is basically nothing.
Against certain armies or in certain missions,
If
they
you're playing
can
against
be
Night Lords or Raven Guard, it'd be important.
also yes. In night fighting scenarios, they are often like vastly overlooked. But then you have someone who ends up having a bunch of vehicles with searchlights automatically, and then they remember to use them. That's a big point, remembering to use them. Suddenly, night fighting is not as scary, and it's only 5 points. So if you've got an extra 5 points at the end of the list build, probably not a bad idea to just throw an extra searchlight on there. It can't hurt.
Which, honestly, looking at the searchlight upgrade, I mean, you're going to be firing those, if you're taking the Bastion, you're going to have those heavy bolters being able to shoot at something anyway. You might as well take the searchlight to be able to, like, light the target for whatever else is going to shoot afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
Get rid of those cover saves that I hate so much playing Eric.
Well,
might
the
be
only
worth the 5 points.
The only downside is that if you're doing automated fire, that happens at the end of the shooting phase. So you would have to have someone manually firing those weapons. But still, having the searchlight would be better than not having the searchlight in those scenarios.
That's true, and also you have to also remember though that you only get a certain number of upgrades to your building. Which if you don't have anything else that you want to take or don't have the points to take anything else, then yeah, you might throw in a searchlight. But I think if you're just like, oh, I want to maximize the effectiveness of my building, you might look elsewhere.
Maybe,
but maybe not.
It depends. Lastly, and I think that this is going to be the most interesting one, is the Void Shield. It's not cheap. It's a 25-point upgrade, but it adds a level of defense to your fortification. Now, like I said, all of the buildings can be destroyed. So the Bastion and and some of the other ones, the strong points and whatnot, those can be targeted and destroyed just like a vehicle. So for 25 points, you have a Void Shield that attacks hit that first. Just like the Void Shields on a Titan, they are armor value 12, and a glancing or penetrating hit, or any hit from a D weapon scored against the Void Shield causes it to collapse. Any hits after that will hit the building itself and will resolve against the normal armor value. At the end of the of each of the controlling player's turns, you can roll a dice for the collapsed Void Shield, and on a 5 up, you can bring it back. So armor 12 is not that great, but it will definitely help extend the life of your investment for not an unreasonable amount of points.
So I have a question concerning the Void Shield. So I'm used to the Adeptus Titanicus Void Shields where, once your shields go down, any other hits from that weapon just kind of disappear. Is that the same here, or would you roll one at a time and then any hits that you score with that weapon once they get through the shield start hitting the building, or would those dissipate as well?
No, if you do them in order, so if you hit with 3 las cannons, you're gonna resolve against the Void Shield first, and then until it goes away, and then you'll resolve against the unit itself. So
okay, so if you have a squad, if you have 3 las cannons from one gut or from one squad that hit, and you fail the first las cannon gets through, the other 2 then hit the building.
Yes.
Got it.
So yeah, you just do it in line. So It does not negate the rest of the unit's shooting, is my understanding, and that's how I've always played it. But you know, like I said, armor value 12 is not very high, but it can help stave off at least a couple of shots that may have caused some damage. Excuse
yeah,
me?
it's a 25-point ablative wound that you can get back.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah.
Definitely.
Some ablative wounds are not nothing.
No, they're not. But and I have seen it where a single void shield is able to do an unnecessary amount of tanking against a lot of concentrated firepower. So that 25 points can save you from one shot from a weapon, or it can save you from 100. Like it really just depends on how they roll. But 25 points is not an unreasonable cost for something like that, especially considering you can re-roll for it if it does go down. And most of these buildings are armor value 14, so it's not like they're going on paper thin buildings to begin with.
Yeah, it's not like, your thing is normally armor 10 where it can be killed by bolters, and this suddenly makes you immune to bolters.
Yep. Definitely. So that's the last of the building specific upgrades. So with that, move on to the next fortification on the list, which is the defense line. It's a little bit different than the Aegis defense line, but it's 80 points. You can take items from the obstacle list just like you can with the Aegis. You can't take let me double check that 107.
Yeah, you can't take your battlements and battlefield lists, so your ammo dump, your comms relay, your gun emplacement.
Yep, so you just get the tangle wire, barricades, and tank traps for the defense line. But it's about the same amount of linear area that you can cover. This one does come with its own special rule called Stalwart Defense. So models have the stubborn special rule whilst within a defense line or defense emplacement section. And I don't remember exactly what the official model was what this was for. I'm thinking
this is the Wall of Martyrs.
The trench network.
So this is the Wall of Martyrs. Yeah, trench and bastion. I think was what the thing was. Trench and emplacement, one of the two.
Well, if I remember, the defense emplacement was like a little slot for heavy weapons.
Yeah, it was like a little building. I've seen them bring it out to the Coastal Wargaming stuff.
No, it wasn't a building. It's like a line of.
Yeah, because there's a Wall of Martyrs bunker. I'm Googling it right now. There's a Wall of Martyrs bunker, and there's a Wall of Martyrs defense line that's like a little trench kind of deal.
Which the defense line matches up to the composition of the defense line in the book, which is 2 long and 4 short sections.
Yes,
right.
Yeah. So and then like you just pointed out, the next 2 entries in the list are the defense emplacement and the bunker. So I'll read all of them, and we can talk about them as kind of a intermixed. Yeah. The defense emplacement is a 40-point emplacement, and that is up to 3 emplacement sections and up to 2 defense lined end sections, and they've got to be in contact with each other. These are specifically like heavy weapons emplacements. They don't come with heavy weapons themselves. But you can set your heavy weapons teams in them. So you get the Stalwart Defense, same as before, but then you have the improved Arc of Fire, which this is pretty major. Any model within a defense emplacement section can re-roll to hit rolls when resolving Overwatch if using a weapon with the heavy type. So it makes the prospect of charging that area a little bit more terrifying, because now instead of just hitting you on 6, I'm hitting you on re-rollable 6s, which is a huge difference. And if
those Dark Angels Terminators that can Overwatch despite being cataphracty, do they carry heavy weapons or?
I think they're just pistols. I think they might be.
Yeah, I don't think they
pistols.
carry heavy weapons.
No,
Oh,
they're
yeah,
not
either-
heavy
either
weapons,
way,
they're-
they're not
those
they're
guys
heavy.
are
heavily
scary.
pistol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I think they can
Um,
reroll anyway, so disregard.
I don't know that they can re-roll. I think the plasma. I thought it was plasma. Those plasma weapons hit on 5s. I thought, but I could be.
Yeah, I
think you're
think
right,
that's
but I
right. They
can't remember.
Overwatch on 5s to hit instead of 6s.
Which then when they came out, everybody was like, "Huh? But they're cataphracti. They can't Overwatch." And they were like, "Yeah, our bad. They actually can."
Yeah, suck it.
But yeah, they're also not
You
heavy,
get
so I don't
started
think
on
that's
that.
gonna count. Also, I wouldn't want to just sit my expensive ass Dark Angels, Knights Cenobium or whatever in a defensive emplacement. I just don't think
Yeah,
that's
I
their
mean,
best
that's
use.
So
Um,
speaking of the defenseman placement, I don't think that model's made anymore.
I
The
don't
one
think
you're
a lot of
talking
these
about.
models are. Well, I have not seen the Wall
Right.
of Martyrs stuff in a while, so you're probably right.
I'm looking at the
Right, but
Wall of
the-
Martyrs on the Games Workshop website. You
Oh,
can still order
okay.
it.
The emplacement, if it's the model I think it is, I think it's the old gunnery position that Forge World used to make. It came out with the Siege of Brack stuff, isn't it? Like that emplacement where it had the 2 trench
No.
openings in the back and the gun platform on it.
Let's see if I can find it. No, I've got it. They're like 3 little sections that connect, but they've got a big like the flat armored section like on the Aegis, but it's got a big like gun port opening.
Oh, I see it. It's the Wall of Martyrs one.
Yeah.
Okay, I was thinking the Forge World one. Do you remember that one?
Vaguely.
I will put a picture up. We'll keep talking. I'll put a picture up if I can find it.
But yeah, the Wall of Martyrs stuff is still available, and like I really liked that terrain. Like I loved the trench networks. I've since printed a bunch for myself. Like I really like it. As terrain, it's very simple and easy, especially from running an event that's relatively cheap and easy to produce, and makes for a nice looking table in my opinion. But anyways, so the last bit of that is the 55-point bunker that you can add. That's a medium building, so it's armor value 14, can hold 20 dudes, has battlements, does not have any weapons that comes with it. Does come with the special rule of wide fire points, which means that up to 4 occupying models can fire out of each of its buildings' fire points. So interesting to note is that the bunker does not say how many firing points there are. On the official model, you see that there are 2. So, if you're not using the official model, you either, house rule it that you can use as many as are as on the model, or you just have to use it as 2. That's one of those, interesting points where they don't say you have to use the GW model, but it's clear that that's what they intended.
I found the Forge World one. I put it up on the Discord there.
Let me take a look, see which one you are talking about.
I was thinking that one when he said emplacement.
Oh, yeah, that was the. I don't
It
know
was
that
like
that ever
Siege of
had.
Brack or something, wasn't it?
I think
What it came
so.
out
I
for?
think it came out around the same time. I think they did a couple of. It had a couple of themed tables with it, and it had. I think that was like an artillery section.
Emplacement. Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think that's way bigger than what this the Wall of Martyr stuff was too. Because if I remember correctly, the thing that I remember seeing in that spot was like some Earthshaker cannons.
Oh, well, shit. Okay,
Yeah,
there you go.
but with this bunker, you can still take items from the building upgrades, obstacles, battlements, and battlefield list. And compared to the Bastion, you're paying 20 points less, but you lose out on having the heavy bolters. So if you're just looking for a cheap way to keep 20 dudes safe, like this would probably be better than the Bastion. But the Bastion has it's a taller building if you're using the legit model, and it comes with the heavy bolters, so that might be a better
I think on the official model for the bunker, all the firing points are facing the same way too, if I'm not
They
mistaken, where
they
they
are
don't on the bastion.
They are both on the front, and it has 2 access points. It has one on the side and one on the back.
Right. So you're probably if your goal is like a missile heavy weapon squad, you can shoot more guys in the same direction out of the bunker, probably.
Yeah. Oh, it's not a bad buy. It's just, would you choose that, or would you choose the bastion? And I think that you would choose the bunker if you were also going to be taking some of the defense lines and stuff to kind of make your own little network of fortifications.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where it comes in. Is if you want to build onto it and spread it out, you do bunker. If you want line of sight, then it's bastion.
Yeah, I tend to agree.
Just having played out of it, you put a heavy squad on top of that bastion, and they're nigh untouchable. They just reach out.
And then they can see everything. That's true. They don't need firing points.
Very true.
Just go on the roof.
Yeah. But they can also be targeted on the roof, whereas if they're inside firing out of the firing ports, whatever is shooting has to destroy the bunker before they can get to the unit. So
that's fair.
Things to think about. I'm gonna skip the next entry because that's I think that's a bit more of a conversation, and I'll let one of y'all kind of describe it. But the last one that I'll describe is the Vengeance Weapon Battery, which I think is a very interesting take. I've seen very few people pick this thing up and put it on the table, but it's 75 points, and you can purchase multiple, but each one is deployed as a separate fortification. It's considered an impassable building with armor value 14. Nothing can get inside of it. There are no firing points, no access points, and the weapon is an emplaced battle cannon.
Yeah.
I can see where that could be useful.
And it comes with the Sentry Defense system rules. So for 75 points, you can have just a freestanding self-firing battle cannon with Ordnance 1.
Yeah, I mean, battle cannons don't fuck around. I am a fan of more battle cannons.
Yeah.
So
the only thing is that if it has to use automated fire, right? That's what the whole point of it is.
It uses the Sentry Defense.
Yes, Sentry Defense system just says that it can always shoot even if it's unoccupied, which every building has, so I don't know why they included that. But that does also mean that you have to shoot the closest model or the closest enemy unit within range of line of sight. So you're not going to be blasting the enemy's backfield objective holders, but you're still going to be blasting something pretty good.
Nope.
And the low ballistic skill doesn't matter as much too because you're firing a template weapon. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like you can replace it with a quad Icarus las cannon, but why would you?
I don't think that I ever would. If I'm gonna take anti-air, I'm gonna take something that's actually good at it. But having a battle cannon just kind of sat out in the front of my horse, like it's gonna force decision making, and if you force your opponent to have to make decisions, you can force them to make a bad one. I don't think that the battle cannon by itself is going to do, it's not going to win me the game, but it's going to force the enemy army to have to deal with it. So that means it's either going to soak up some firepower, and it's an armor 14 little thing sitting there. Like it's not easy to crack. Even with dedicated anti armor, like it's armor 14 is still difficult to break through. So it's just going to sit there, and you're either going to fire a shitload of weapons at it trying to take it off the table, or you're going to ignore it, and there's just going to be a random battle cannon shot fired at you every turn.
So here's another question I have, and I might just be blind. How many hull points does it have?
I believe 2. Let me.
I think it's a small building.
Is it a small building?
It is.
I believe so. If it's the model, I think
I
it
don't
is.
see. I don't see where it says small building.
So it just says an impassable building.
Huh, so that is a problem.
I mean, in the meantime,
Yeah,
like, you know, that is an important question to have answered. Is
yeah.
I mean,
Looking
either
at the
way,
model, it's not real big, so I'd be okay saying small.
Then
Oh, that's
3
a good
hull
thing to
points.
check.
It's a small building. 3 hull
Yeah.
points.
So it's an armor 14 with 3
Mm.
hull points. Like, yeah, it's not a land raider, but it's a fourth of the cost of one.
Yeah.
But it's almost a land raider
I
in
mean,
terms
yeah,
of hull points.
yeah, in terms of survivability. So that's my point. Like, you know, for 75 points, you've got. I'm actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm actually surprised I don't see more people taking them,
I know.
because I mean, aside from the fact that, like we've kind of touched on a few times, that a ton of rights of wars just straight up disallow fortifications. I know that like my two main ones that I use completely disallow it. But
honest
Yeah,
to
really
God,
loud
like
on those.
I would consider running a rightless Blood Angels list to be able to take some fortifications and playing them correctly. Like, especially because my Blood Angels army is Siege of Terra themed, so that would be super thematic to have them be behind some defense lines.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
thinking like I've been missing out as a militia player. Like,
Yeah, I was just thinking the
what
same
the
thing.
hell
Like,
am I
man,
doing here?
why am I not taking some random ass battle cannons? Like,
Yeah, like I've been getting punked in every game as my militia, and I could have been hanging out in armor 14 buildings shooting battle cannons off the top.
I'm just saying, you could probably fit one at your 500 point escalation list. Just say.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I
God,
mean,
that'd be such a
militia
dick
500
move.
points goes far.
Battle cannons go a lot further in a 500 point match.
So there are a few more like weapon specific emplacements that, you know, I feel like we could
Plasma
probably,
obliterator, stuff like that.
yeah, that, you know, are Lords of War even. So I mean, they're
Yeah, they get real expensive.
and then there's a bunch of other types of buildings listed to kind of populate your table with these don't cost any points. They're just identifying like different types of ruins and like ruined buildings that you can have on your table, which is super cool, and you should definitely take a look at them when you have a chance. I think they'll lead to some definite
Have them right here, actually.
yeah, like definite more thematic feeling and more interesting games, kind of like Ben touched on before, where, you know, I wouldn't suggest these to like new players, but certainly if you play with the same group of guys, or if you've been playing for a long time and you want to add some more flavor into your games, definitely take a look. But I was going to say that we could kind of recenter on, you know, kind of why we're talking about buildings out of nowhere. Because I think, Eric, this is something that you wanted to get into for sure.
Right. So one of the most recent releases that Heresy has had is another one of the exemplary battle packs that have dropped from Warhammer Community. This one being the Defense of Sothis. So for those who are unaware, Sothis was a planet, one of the 500 worlds of Ultramar, that was home to the Pharos artifact. If you've read Pharos the novel, you kind of already know where this is going. If you haven't, the Pharos was kind of a secondary sort of astronomicon that, if I'm not mistaken, allowed the Ultramarines, the Blood Angels, the Dark Angels to get out of the Ruin Storm. Do I have that right, Jake? I haven't actually read that novel.
You know, I mean, you're asking the wrong person. I haven't read that novel either. I think
yeah,
that's.
Well, I know from, you know, some of the other novels I have read that that's how Sanguinius and the Lion got to Ultramars, because they saw the light of the Pharos and got there. And it's also got some weird teleporty capabilities that let them pull Gilliman and the Lion through it to not get ganked by Kurz in what would have been the best ambush of the entire Heresy. Well, I digress. Anyway, they put out an exemplary battle pack with a little bit of background on this particular battle. This battle being the Ultramarines defending the city of Sothopolis. What a crazy original name. From the Night Lords who were attacking because they saw a shiny thing and wanted to take it. It also released with the rules for the long-awaited Night Lords Atramentar Terminator Squad.
Which, how the hell did that not make your hit of the week list?
Because Bane Lord, Ben.
I mean, he's a Night Lord. He's a Night Lords player second, a Corn Boy first. So I mean,
absolutely. So it's got it had the Atramentar rules, and it's also got a special mission to represent this exemplary battle during the Horus Heresy. So we want to we'll talk about the Atramentar rules first, and then get into the battle itself, and it'll all come together as to why we've been talking about fortifications for the last hour.
We promise.
So, Night Lords Atramentar Squad are an elite's choice. They're 270 points. They have a regular Terminator stat line, except their weapon skill 5. They come with 4 dudes and a sergeant, who is known as the Trucidor. They come with Combi Bolter, any power weapon, specifically Tartaros pattern Terminator armor. And they come base with teleport transponders and trophies of judgment. They have Legiones Astartes Night Lords, Implacable Advance, and 2 of their own special rules, Cloaked in Murder and Sworn Loyalty. So Cloaked in Murder is basically just defensive grenades. Any successful charge made against a unit that includes models with this special rule that is not already engaged in combat counts as disordered. Sworn Loyalty, you can take them as troops if Sevatar is your warlord. And also for Sevatar's Master of the Atramentar special rule, they count as Legion Terminator squads. They are also no longer scoring units for capturing objectives should their army be removed, or should the warlord of their army be removed as a casualty. You can take 15 additional in the squad for a 20-man Terminator squad at only 30 points per model, which is the same cost as additional Legion Terminators. They do have a significantly higher unit tax, but they get pretty cheap to fill out your squad. This is something that they want you to take one big squad rather than MSUs. You can also exchange. Oh yeah, you can also exchange for every 5 models. 1 can exchange a Combi Bolter for a Heavy Flamer, a Reaper Autocannon, or a Plasma Blaster. Your sergeant can take a combi weapon or a Volkite charger. And here's where it gets good. Any Atramentar and or Trucidor can exchange their power weapon for one of the following. A Nostraman Chainglaive for free. So for those who don't know, the Nostraman Chainglaive is +1 strength, AP3, 2-handed, and rending. Pretty good for a free weapon. And with a talent for murder, which you're gonna proc with your massive fucking Terminator squad, you're gonna be wounding dudes on 2s and rending them. You can also take Power Fist for 5 points, Lightning Claws for 5 points, Chain Test for 10. Anyone can take a Thunderhammer for 15 points. I don't know if that's standard for Legion Terminators or not, but you can do it. And also, your Trucidor can take Pair of Lightning Claws for 15 points if you don't want to take a Chainglaive for some weird reason. And your Trucidor can take a Grenade Harness or a Headsman's Axe. Headsman's Axe is another 2-handed weapon, but it is Strength ×2, AP3 rending as well. So it's an at-initiative Power Fist, but not a Power Fist rending, because it's only rending. Or it's AP3, but it's rending. So you can have all the fun of trying to get, that instant death on the enemy Artificer Sergeant or HQ at initiative.
And you can also take combi weapons everywhere.
And they're at initiative 4, yeah. And yeah, you can stock them up with combi weapons for 7 points each if you want. That'd get real expensive real fast, but hey, you don't have to take it on everybody.
Well, still, even at 7 points, at 37 points per model, they'd still be fairly cheap. And on a 20-man unit, yeah, it's expensive, but absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, and you only need,
Imagine
you
20
take maybe
cosmic.
5.
Sure.
Oh.
Just to add some, some utility to the unit.
Yeah, so when these guys dropped, I immediately thought, all right, well, this is number one. This is what everyone were hoping Contakar were gonna be, and if Forge World didn't just want to, shove their original character donut steals, this would have been Contakar's. Let's be real. But I was gonna take a regular Legion Terminator squad in my Swift Blade list with teleport transponders, and for the same number of points, I get one fewer guy, but they all have chain glaives, and they all have trophies of judgment.
So one
That's
thing
not
that I'm
nothing.
noticing from this unit, like aside from its obvious effectiveness, I mean that kind of goes without saying at this point. Like it's obviously an effective unit, but I think that it's going to be a very good looking unit. Like just on the table, like you've got some
Oh, for
really
sure.
good modeling opportunities to showcase some very unique looking Terminators with a lot of different armaments.
Yeah, they've got a little unit showcase as part of the PDF for the pack on page 6 that shows 2 different takes on it. One of them is basically just the Contakar models with combi bolters, but they also have used some of the Lion Pauldrons off of some of the Stormcast Eternal kits, because that's one
Oh
of the
yeah.
things that Atramentar have in the lore, as Gray pointed out to me when I was like, do what now? They have like Lion insignia kind of deal.
Yeah, the Nostroman line is called. It's
Yeah.
their like thing. That's what makes them stand out. Is hey, we're covering Nostroman Lion.
I never would have known that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not
if you've
entirely
read the
sure what part they're described in.
if you've read the Night Lords trilogy by Aaron Dembski Bowden, which are technically 40K books, but I mean, kind of, sort of, not really. There's a handful of Atramentar that are rocking around with the leader of their warband that have like Lion Pauldrons on their Terminator.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that's neat. And then there's also another thing they did here is they just used regular Legion Terminators with whatever skulls bits you can put on them, and then the Terror Squad upgrade heads, which look sick as fuck.
Oh, that's neat. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to go full out ham and make really expensive models. You can just make these with things that you probably already have as a Night Lords player.
Yeah, like personally, I'm just going to use Contakar models with combi bolters, and they're going to be visually distinct because they're going to have regular Nostroman chain glaives instead of the Contakar chain blades, and also they're not going to have the Volkite things or the heavy flamers.
So if you take the chain glaives, do you still get the combi bolters?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
You just don't get the extra attack in close combat for having 2 weapons.
Yeah, because they're two-handed.
Okay.
Which is pretty cool that having a larger than 10-man Terminator unit, you could load these guys up with some heavy weapons pretty easily. Like you can have up to 4 heavy flamers or plasma blasters in there.
Yeah, the plasma blaster in particular, like I might see if I can sneak one of those bad boys in there.
I don't think that will be a problem.
I will say, as far as the unit showcase goes, I think the more normal Tartaros looking unit, I think those skulls are just free-handed onto regular Tartaros helmets. You
think so?
Which is pretty sick, because like the ones that are the Contakar, those definitely have the Night Raptor heads on them. But like the normal Legion Terminator,
those the right what the Contakar, because the Contakar have a helmet on the model. I can't tell you looking at it right now if that's necessarily it.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. Definitely the ones that are based off the Contakar models have a little bit more conversion work done to them. It looks like in some places they've just used the torsos from the Contakar.
Yeah.
Oh no, you're right, Jake. Those are the Terror Squad heads. I'm looking at the Contakar models right now.
Yeah, if I was gonna do it, I would do I'd probably take Contakar bodies, Legion, and I'd put the AOS shoulder pads on. But I might actually see if I can't find a way to shoehorn like the 40K Night Lord helmets with like the big bat ears.
Yeah.
Oh,
Play it
yeah.
with-
I don't know how you're gonna
Just play
fit
it all
those
the way
in
out.
a Terminator helmet or Terminator armor, but you know.
Yeah,
See if
I
I
think the
can
ears will
make
get
them
in the
fit
way.
somehow.
But
You might be able to get them to fit in if you shave it right.
yeah,
I
Just
might
not
have
every
some
file
extras
pack.
because I'm using those bat heads for one of my Swiftblade clans. So if I have any left over, I'll let you experiment.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It'd be dope. Yeah.
But yeah, those helmets definitely have the second unit definitely have free-handed skulls on the Tartaros helmets, which is definitely improving my opinion of that of that unit. Like that's super impressive that they're all that crisp and neat.
For
Yeah, that's
sure.
pretty dope. Yeah.
I mean, I guess for Tartarus, they're not bad.
Yeah, for the Eggy boys.
Egg boys.
I like Tartarus, but man, I will never not love Cataphracti more.
I
Yeah,
think
Cataphracti is the
visually I
best
like cats
visually.
better. Like cats are great visually, but Tartaros are so much better in almost every situation on the table.
I
You know?
would definitely argue the added durability has served me so well over the years.
I think being able to run, especially out of that Deep Strike Blossom, is pretty good.
I think which one you're going to want to use comes down to playstyle. My playstyle usually puts Terminators in a vehicle.
That's fair. And I'll be completely honest, the Legion Terminator squad I was going to take before the Atramentar dropped, they were going to be in Cataphracti.
Yeah, no, I mean both Terminator armors are fantastic for their proper usage. But like I said, it boils down to my personal play style. Like, so I don't know if I told y'all this, but I'm actually getting a Night Lord's army.
I was aware of this. Yes.
Yeah, a buddy of mine is going to give it to me whenever I'm doing a bunch of print work for him. So he's gonna, aside from my normal commission, part of it is being done for some Night Lords, which I'm super excited for because like I've never really played them, but I'm gonna have to force myself to kind of change up my play style because Night Lords don't work as well for my normal play style. So I'm gonna do my Terminators and Tartarus and put them in a vehicle, which normally I do because I like the assuredness of getting my stuff exactly where they need to be.
Yeah.
So yeah, do we want to move on and talk about the exemplary mission itself?
Yeah, so the is Sothopolis Burns, the legendary mission. So the mission is actually called Honor in Duty. It's yeah, duty. So it's thematically it's supposed to be Night Lords versus Ultramarines, but any loyalist versus traitor, however you want to do it, works. So it has an attacker and defender role. The traitors being the attackers, and the Ultramarines playing the role of the defenders. And here's where it all comes together. The defender must take one fortification choice and may take more than one if their chosen force organization allows. So all that stuff we were talking about, bunkers and defense lines around objectives, that'll all come into play right here. The defender also can't put anything at all in reserves, meaning that some of your rights of war can't be taken. I don't know of any off the top of my head except for like orbital assault.
Yeah.
And
Mario
anything.
Terra, for some reason, if you're using not the regular guys, using different legions, I can see where it's coming, but not really for Ultramarines.
Yeah, if you're like Loyalist Emperor's Children playing Maruskara, or even like Chagorian Brotherhood with your infantry that have to be in reserves.
Yeah, absolutely no Day of Revelation on 2 counts, because I would think the requirement to take a fortification would also disqualify all those rights of war that we were talking about that don't allow for
that's
fortifications.
True, because I was thinking specifically of the reserves thing, but no, you're right. If you have to take a fortification, that disqualifies a lot of rights of war.
Or if you're going to play as Ultramarines, you might be able to take Vigil Operty, or whatever, Operity, or whatever, however you say it. Which could be kind of cool.
Pseudo-Latin.
I don't Latin. I'm not a lawyer boy.
Yeah, so meanwhile, the attacker may not take any fortification choices, which is kind of the standard across a lot of the game. So it's set up to represent the Attican Square of the city of Sothopolis, which is a name that I'm going to laugh at every time I say it. And it's, you put any terrain as urban ruins and et cetera, et cetera. But interestingly, the deployment zones are set up in kind of like a chevron pattern is the best way for me to describe it. You have kind of a triangle where the attackers, it's like a pentagon where the attackers deploy with a 24-inch space between any given point between the attacker and defenders. So it ends up no man's land ends up looking like a 24-inch width chevron. And it looks like probably 12 inches at the deepest point for the defender's deployment zone, which kind of looks like two right triangles. So it's an interesting deployment map for sure. It's one that I don't think is in the standard book or in any of the other campaign missions that I'm aware of.
It's not in the regular book. I want to say that I've seen it in some of the special missions from some of the other black books, but it's definitely not a deployment that I would use often.
Yeah, so basically the attacker's deployment zone moves up, 12 inches from the edge and then forms a triangle. So you end up with a pentagon. And then the easiest way would be to measure the attacker deployment zone and then 24 inches from the tip and from any, given side. If you go straight ahead from the attacker's line, you're going to hit 24 inches, and then there's the defender's deployment zone. So you are supposed to have one large imposing piece of terrain, such as the Battle Sanctum, as they give a, but it can be, some awe-inspiring piece of ruin. What was it called? The one that gives you fearless if you're on that side.
Awe-inspiring statuary.
The statuary.
Yeah, imposing statuary. That'd be great right there. Goes in the defender's employment zone, and that represents the point of the defender's last stand, which I believe is supposed to be the Pharaoh structure itself, but again, I'm not entirely sure.
I'm defending an Aquila strong point. Get wrecked.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, because you can have your imposing statuary to give you fearless, and that's not even the fortification that you have to take, so you can take something else.
Sure.
So deployment, you roll off as normal, but interestingly, before deploying, the attacker deploys up to half their units as normal. Everything else rolls a d6, and on a 1 to 3, it deploys as normal. On a 4 to 6, it must enter reserves. So unlike the defender that can't have anything in reserves, there's a very good chance your attacker is going to. And you don't make reserves the way that you normally do, where you just start on turn 2 and roll a 3+ and everything comes in. You roll by specific force organization slots on a given turn. So starting on turn 2, you can roll for troops and fast attacks. Starting on turn 3, you get to add elites HQ and heavy support, and everything else from turn 4 onwards, like if you were unlucky enough to have your Lord of War get placed in reserve, it would come on no earlier than turn 4.
That's your fault at that point for not go ahead and putting that on the table.
Yeah, why did you not put your Typhon on the table the very first thing?
Yeah, I was going to ask, it seems like you could deploy, if you were going to have stuff in reserves anyway, like your big unit of Atramentar, just don't deploy those and roll for them, and either way they're going into reserve, so you've lost nothing.
Right.
Now, they do have to wait until turn 3 to be able to come in, though, is the problem there.
Yeah, but in that case, unless you're specifically gearing your army for this game, if you were going to teleport them, turn 3 is probably the earliest they would get to where they want to be anyway. And that's a couple turns that they're not going to be shot.
Which, I mean, there's something to be said for playing this as a generic mission with, generic armies, but if you are trying to play the exemplary battle and you are making more of a narrative thing, there is something to be said for doing a little bit of list tailoring.
So as far as the Atramentar, I was just trying to think of ways to get them off the table other than walking them or teleporting them in.
They did not have a dedicated transport.
Yeah, so they do not have any options available. Whereas normally, Legion Terminator squads can take like Land Raiders.
I think
Land
so.
Raiders
Yeah.
or Spartans.
Well, you can take those things as dedicated, but you can also take like Land Raiders as heavy support choices, and
Right.
you can still start them in one of those transports. They just
Yeah,
aren't
and you
dedicated.
can do that, but you also have to, if you're looking at this from I'm going to be playing Night Lords against Ultramarines, if you're taking, for example, Terror Assault, you only get one heavy support slot. If you want to use that for a Land Raider squadron, because you can get 3 Land Raiders, I mean that would not be a bad choice. But
one thing I will point out though is if you take a Land Raider squadron, they do have to remain squadroned. So like, if you're using them as a transport, and you're putting stuff in each of the Land Raiders, well, they're gonna have to stick together. So that's.
Or you just take 3 Land Raiders, put 2 in front that are empty, and have a blade of Land Raiders.
I mean, honestly, like, Land Raiders are nothing to sneeze at.
I've do that better, but yeah, sure.
I've talked about this before. I fucking love Land Raiders, so I'm never gonna complain about somebody just taking Land Raiders empty just to have Land Raiders.
They raid land real good.
Yeah.
So
the land pattern Raider tanks.
So just thinking out loud, the Baneblade that has the 40 model capacity, does that limit bulky?
The Storm fucking Lord.
Stormlord.
No, I think that super heavies ignore bulky and very bulky. If I remember.
So you could presumably put 20 Atramentar in a Stormlord and run that up the middle of the table.
Metal is
Stormlord has a 40 capacity anyway.
Yeah,
right?
no, you could put 2 units of 20 in a Stormlord and just fuck your way up.
Where's your army? That's it.
I mean,
I've totally done that with my salamanders.
It's not a bad plan.
I wouldn't say it's a great play, but
I have a Stormlord for my Emperor's Children. I just fill it full of, purple perverts and run it up the table.
I guess I also need to point out that the Stormlord, while it does not take extra damage, it is considered open-topped, therefore you can assault out of it.
Yeah.
I mean,
takeaway from today's episode is Stormlord fucking OP.
Yeah, if there was ever a tank that I would ever take for my World Eaters, I mean, the Stormlord would be it for just that reason. Take 2 20-man squads of tactical Marines and just shove them in your grill.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do something about it.
But so to finish up talking about the mission, what are the objectives that we're looking at for this?
Oh yeah, so first turn is whoever deployed first, unless they seize, uses variable game length. Primary objectives: the attacker gains 1 victory point for each friendly scoring unit wholly within the defender's deployment zone at the end of the game. The defender scores 1 victory point for each enemy unit that is completely destroyed. Any units that are falling back or are not on the game board for any reason count as being destroyed. Secondary, slay the warlord. First blood. Last man standing, the side with the greatest number of surviving units at the end of the game gains an extra victory point. So maybe you don't want to put your ablative Land Raiders with your Atramentar, because that's going to be most of your units. And hold fast. For each additional turn after turn 4 that the game continues, the defender earns an extra victory point.
So, I mean, they get 1 victory point guaranteed.
Yeah. So at the end of the game, if the amount of victory points are tied, the defender claims a Pyrrhic victory if there are any friendly models, not including fortifications, remaining in their deployment zone. It also has night fighting and reserves.
So yeah, it's a pretty cool mission.
It's a take ground, fast and durable.
Yeah, no, that's going to be
pretty great.
That's going to be
perfect for a
Night Lords, if they lose their HQs, have a proclivity for running off the table.
Well, see, that's where you take Swift Blade, where you have 3 minimum HQs that are all the Warlord, and they all have to die for that to happen.
Oh, well, there you go. That gets around it. Perfect. I was just thinking about that. I was like, man, that's really
That
favorite
sounds
set of
really
sentries.
easy to destroy with, a whole bunch of self-firing battle cannons.
Well, yeah, if you cram them all together in the same unit.
No. I just take what I do is I take 3 of those battle cannon emplacements. I can set them up separately, and then I have tank traps and razor wire between them, so that you've got a
You
hard
have to
time
go
getting through
through.
there. And then I get lots of different units that are going to be the closest unit that those battle cannons are going to fire on.
Fair.
It's nasty.
Yeah, and
He's out of
all for
line,
the
but he's
low,
right.
low price of like 300 points.
For 300 points, he tops your 3,000 point biker list.
All for the low price of 50% of your army.
I mean, you get victory points for every enemy unit that's destroyed, so have at it. If you're gonna kill shit, you may as well kill all the shit.
I mean, yeah. And battle cannons have a, I mean, they're pretty good against bikes.
Yeah.
Yeah, true that.
But one of the hard parts about these custom missions is this, this idea of balance. And I run into it every time I run an event, trying to make missions that are interesting, but are memorable enough that it doesn't require a bunch of jumping back to the rules to remember something during the middle of it, but still creating an engaging match. One thing that I hear from this mission and the one that they released a couple weeks ago with the Imperial Fists, like these are really cool missions, and they're like, I can see where they would be really fun, and they could go either way, and they've done a pretty good job of creating win conditions for both sides, but it just seems like there's a little too much going on for an event setting, and especially with that kind of unique deployment.
Yeah, it's definitely not
really
a
weird
for
one to
that.
set up.
Yeah.
I would say this is you have a passion for the Battle of Sothis and you want to play it with your friends kind of thing.
Well, it doesn't necessarily have to be Ultramarines v Night Lords. Like I would, you can kind of tailor
Make it anything, yeah.
any armies to fill those spots. But like what you were saying about, are you tailoring your army? Well, like this is one of those missions where yes, I think that you and your opponent know what the mission is going into it. You tailor your armies, appropriately.
Yeah, because you pretty much have to, because you have to have a fortification in there somewhere.
Yeah, so you don't have to, tailor make a dick kicker, but tailor it so that it fits and works within reason.
Yeah,
but
I mean, this could just as easily be a mission representing the Lost and the Damned from the Siege of Terra, of having,
or it could be Istvan.
Yeah, or Istvan, or Talarn, or any of your last stand type. Well, maybe not Talarn. I meant something else, but it's slipping from me now. But whatever last stand type missions you have.
Yeah, or even if you're running like a campaign and with like territories and whatnot, because that's a thing people do sometimes. You corner a guy at the last, whatever his last section is, and then you play this.
Yeah, no, totally valid.
For sure.
I was actually looking at this, and I think, like, this is obviously built for Legion on Legion play, but this would be great for a militia game. Like, either side would be cool for militia. Either scrubbing runes out or defending this big giant runes,
I don't know if the mission is like specifically tailored for Legion on Legion. I don't see any reason why the Mortal armies or the Mechanicus armies wouldn't be able to function in this game.
Yeah, they'd be perfectly fine. Especially with those Solar Augs being able to just take a whole bunch of defense lines. I mean, that's as fitting for anything as it would be for anything the Ultramarines could do.
Yeah, I was just thinking sticking a bunch of Earthshaker carriages in the back line and just pounding away as defender. Like that'd be cool.
Oh yeah, which would work great until something either outflanks or deep strikes, into the back line, and then you can't fire those big things. Like that would be a very, narratively focused game that could, there could be some ridiculous shit going on.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
for it to really work to the highest degree that this mission was kind of written for, you've really got to have a firm understanding of how the fortification rules work and how to maximize them to your to your benefit, or minimize their effectiveness to for your opponent.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
was
because I think the defenders definitely have a little bit of a more work to do, considering the attackers just get points for having shit in their deployment zone. Like they just got to get there. That's all they're trying to do.
Well, they got to get there and they got to stay there because it's at the end of the game.
Yeah.
right.
I
Absolutely.
like the mission. I really like the mission. Even though I am terrified of having to fight against Atraminotaur, I think that they are well written, or I think they're going to be a very good unit. Are they an auto include with every Night Lord's army? I don't think so. But I think that they're really good on their own, with a lot of modeling potential in there. And as we have said a couple of times on the podcast, like having those options is really, really important. And the most important thing is that we are seeing regular updates and love for heresy from from an official source, like not only just a random here's some lore or some artwork, but here are some actual missions. Here are some unit rules, and the two units that have been released so far are not ridiculous. They're not they're not overpowered. They're not they're just nice options that you can throw in to your existing armies.
What I kind of like about the two units they put in so far, what I really appreciate is they're units that everyone, these legions have gone, well, Night Lords have gone twice around now, and Imperial Fists every time in the sun, a number of books back. They're all units that you want to have, like fluff wise.
Oh yeah, as soon as Praetorian of Dorn dropped, people were like, Huskarls win.
Exactly. Like it's not like they didn't go in there and go, oh, here's our make a word up kind of unit that we just thought of for this thing.
Well, this
Your
game
Imperial Fist,
suffers.
Fistus Imperialis Terminators or something. No, they're like here's fucking Oscar.
I think that this game has always and will continue to suffer from the narrative side of things never matching up with the tabletop, and
right.
it never can. Like that is a fool's errand. Like it's never going to happen. We should stop making it try to be. But having some of these cool options that we see in the book, like the Praetorian of Dorn, like you just said, like wow, I really wish that there was a way that I could accurately, throw some Huskarls on the table. Well, like here is a set of rules that, they're not very different from what comes out of the book. For the Legion Terminators, there's just not much difference. It's just you get like one extra special rule. That's it, and maybe a little bit of extra gear options. It's not a very difficult thing to do. It's something that a lot of people have been home brewing, like the Mournival guys have been doing, taking that same concept and making quote unquote unofficial but official rules for some of these units. They're not necessarily that much different than what you can already do, but it gives a little bit of a framework that we can work with to build a more unique army, and that's kind of the whole point of the game.
Yeah, definitely, and it's nice to see it come in because I think, especially Heresy as opposed to 40K, even by comparison to 40K, Heresy is very much a game that it lends itself well to playing established sort of lore points, if you know what I'm saying. Like,
well, it is definitely more narratively focused.
it plays like the gist of it is more like a historical miniature game than not, if you get what I'm saying. Like there's a lore that you're playing to kind of thing, you know? So
Well,
it's
there
nice to see
is.
them actually go and push it in. And it's more than just, well, there's good guys and there's bad guys. Like there's an actual, there's all these battles and campaigns and things that are mapped out, and it's like part of the game. It's not just like, oh yeah, this is this. Now go play on your 22-inch table. We're playing Ninth Edition, you know? Screw that, but consume, you know?
Well, I mean,
Doesn't fall into the screw that consume trap that other products by the same company may do.
well, I think that I think it's mostly the community that has created what it is. Like,
Well,
I
sure,
think that
absolutely.
the people that have kind of stuck with heresy have decided, like, yeah, we really like the hobby side of things. We like the narrative side of things, um, because
Right.
it's not
And
like
that's
we
kind of what I'm
play.
saying, yeah.
It's not like we play specifically to what is established canon, because I mean, even the quote unquote established canon is not. There's so much that counters itself, or like that's kind of the point. Like, yeah,
Well, yeah,
here's the story, but
yeah.
there's
Many things are
always,
canon, but not many things are true. Yeah.
yeah, there's always some deception. There's always a caveat to this. There's always something that could be different. A remembrancer may have changed some details here and there like that, and we can kind of create our own narrative within an established environment.
Definitely.
And that's what we do. We create more of the
Sure.
storyline, and I don't see that as much in whatever the current edition of 40K is, not just ninth edition, but just whatever the current edition is. It's just that that is, in my opinion, seen more as just a competitive game. The
Right.
ninth edition did bring in the crusade system where so you can play some campaigns. I've only kind of looked over the rules, so I don't know them specifically. I know that some people have gotten into it and really love it, and that's really cool that there's some established rule sets for creating a campaign system and playing more narratively.
Right.
It's just that I don't think that that's what appeals to a lot of that crowd, though.
Right. I think kind of refine my point is that the community is definitely the push for the more sort of fluff-based and hobby-based play that we do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nice to see the company rewarding that and putting out some fluff-based units that maybe aren't absolute dick kickers, aren't, game-winning, game-breaking units.
I don't know, 20 Terminators. Ugh,
I
terrifying.
mean, it is, but you're also paying a lot. You are paying a lot of points for 20 Terminators.
You are. Definitely are.
Maybe in a 2,000, 2,500 point game, that's like a third to a quarter of your entire force. Period. Boom, right there.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
really like a third. Period.
Definitely.
I think what
So,
is an interesting piece about you're talking about they're showing us these campaign packs, and that we're getting stuff for the heresy and getting updates. I think it's an interesting foretelling of I'm sure you guys have heard because I don't think it's been confirmed, but the death of the Black Book. That book 9
yeah.
was going to be the last of them, and it's going to be stuff like this from now on. And if they keep up like this, I might be okay with that. We've got all the legions now. We've got mortal armies. They might need updates, yeah. Legions
They
that
do.
need updates for sure. Um, but if we, get our lore in, little segments like this, that's kind of what the black books are like anyway.
Well, yeah.
These won't look great on the shelf, but we can get them more frequently than. I mean, how long was the gap between book 6 and 7? It was like 3 years, wasn't it?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it depends. Well, it also depends on what the company's focus is too. Because when the
Well,
company was focusing on it, they're pumping them out left, right, and center,
I
and then
mean,
they
look at
changed the
what they're
focus
doing
to
right now. Like they have their release schedule right now is, I mean, kind of fuckered, and it's not entirely on them. It is, we are still in the middle of a very weird international situation. So like it's not completely on them, but their release schedule for 9th edition has just been really weird. Like in some some of it has been just super fast paced, and like then some of it is not coming out for what the community deems as too long. And you're seeing a little bit of that with Age of Sigmar 3rd Ed as well. But they have shown over the last 5 years a willingness to kind of go back to and examine the viability of other game systems, where for a while it seemed pretty much like Forge World was going to take care of everything Heresy, and its future was very much unknown. Like, is it going to be something that they're going to hold on to? Is it something that they're just going to phase out? And what we've got is what we will always have, and then it'll just be up to the community to kind of keep it going. A la Mournival or Homebrew, whatever. But now. They brought back Titanicus. They brought back Aeronautica.
Oh yeah, no, I'm
they
all good things. And don't get me wrong. I think I'm saying anything horrible. I think this is all steps in the right direction. I think it's kind of what we needed as far as the community is. We needed to see the company put something out and say, yes, we still give a shit about this game.
Well, yeah, exactly. I think it's very obvious that there is a massive community for Heresy, and like it is definitely a viable product. But how they go about growing it from here, or keeping it an established product line, that's going to be interesting to see how they accomplish it.
That would be cool.
Yeah. So if anybody out there has thoughts on the new mission packs, or if this is kind of the way that Heresy's going, do you have thoughts about Atramentar? Do you have cool army ideas for forces that could make good use of this cinematic mission? Let us know. Shoot us an email over at argeltalkpodcast@gmail.com. That's ARGELTALK podcast@gmail.com. And let us know what you're thinking out there.
I am typing furiously as we speak.
Preparing the fiery responses already. But thanks for hanging out with us, guys, and talking about some buildings. Hopefully you can make some cool use of them in your games. I know we probably will around here. It tends to be the thing, is we get fired up and talk about something and then decide we want to make use of it. I'm working on some Recon Marines right now, so I know we'll definitely be making more use of buildings in our games to come. And if you decide to use buildings in some of your games and you have a cool experience, let us know. We'd love to hear about it.
I'm building some battle cannons right now.
There you go. But thanks for hanging out with us, guys, and we'll see you on the next one.
Bye.